Perhaps my biggest role models that I've realized now are the next generation. The Sharjah Entrepreneurship Center, also known as Sheraa, was established in 2016 by Her Excellency Sheraa Al-Midfa, the chairperson of Sheraa. The genesis of its establishment is actually an interesting story in and of itself, and is perhaps in some ways a metaphor for entrepreneurship. Back in early 2015, we were actually climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. Sheikh Abidur was also part of the group that was climbing Kilimanjaro, and we had summited the peak. As we were on our way down from the summit, Sheikh Abidur and I were talking about how Sharjah had established itself as the premier destination for high potential talent in the UAE and across the region, primarily because of the universities that are based here in the city. As you know, we host over 12 higher education institutions here in Sharjah's university city, which is also home to over 35,000 students. And as we were on our way down, and again, this was back in 2015, and the entrepreneurship ecosystem was still, I would say, in its nascent stages, we were talking about the need for a platform for this young talent to be able to start their own ventures and ultimately to become job creators rather than job seekers. To answer your question off the bat, there definitely is a gap. But this is not a gap that's specific to the UAE or region. We know this is a global challenge. We know that only 2% of VC funding goes to women-led startups. We're proud to say that actually here in Sheraa, if you look at our startups, the $140 million that were raised, I think around, at last count, 13% of that funding went to women-led startups. So versus global benchmarks, we're actually doing relatively well. But there's no doubt that there is a gap there that needs to be filled. Now, in terms of the number of women-led startups, we're proud to say that since day one, we have taken an inclusive approach to ensure that any biases were kept out of the selection process. That includes making sure that our judging panels had equal representation from men and women. It includes making sure that the success stories that we showcased included both men and women founders, and even the mentors that we have in our programs that work closely with us are again equally balanced between both genders. That has resulted in a portfolio where actually 52% of our ventures are led by women, and that's a statistic that we are proud of. While we don't necessarily have programs that are exclusive to women, primarily because we believe in taking, again, an inclusive approach rather than one that separates them and gives them a different sort of support. We've tried to make sure that they are included within the core programs that we offer, equally and well represented in the core programs that we offer. But we do work with other stakeholders in the ecosystem that do have a gender lens. So whether that's funds that focus primarily on female-led startups, whether it's female networks that exist here in the UAE and the region, so ensuring our female founders have access to those networks, working closely with government entities such as the Sharjah Businesswomen Council, which also focuses on providing businesswomen with specific incentives and perks, and ensuring that our female founders have access to that as well. The piece of advice that I would give to entrepreneurs is to remind them that entrepreneurship is a journey. It's a roller coaster, more specifically, and there are as many lows as there are highs. During the low times, it's important to dig deep and find the resilience and the tenacity to keep going through those challenging times, and remember that those are the times that actually make you stronger. But during those times, also to remember that you're not alone, that you're surrounded by a community that is supportive and that wants to see you succeed. And I encourage them during those difficult times, rather than to retreat and try and solve those challenges alone, is to actually reach out to supporting entities like ourselves to see how we can actually walk that journey with them.